The second we launched the game, I knew something was off. You know, when a game just feels wrong before it even starts. That's exactly how this felt. The loading screen wasn't normal. It stuttered, like the code itself was fighting to stay together. The music wasn't some catchy horror loop either. No, it was distorted. Imagine a lullaby played through a broken speaker underwater. Soft, broken, but somehow more terrifying because of it. At first I thought, okay, cool, atmosphere, classic horror setup, but then my eyes caught something that didn't belong. In the bottom corner of the screen, there they were. Eyes. Not just random glowing orbs like you see in horror games. No, these were human, too human, wide, glassy, unblinking, and smiling. Jeff's eyes. I actually leaned in toward the monitor, squinting, half convinced I was imagining it. "Do you guys see that?" I asked. Everyone laughed it off at first, like I was just trying to hype up the scare. But the longer I stared, the less funny it got. His stare wasn't going away. Then it happened. Through my headset, so faint at first, I thought it was a glitch. I heard it. A whisper, a single phrase that sent an ice-cold shiver straight down my spine. Go to sleep. I swear, I ripped the headset halfway off my ears. My heart skipped. You know that pounding feeling when your chest gets tight. Yeah, that. My friends went dead silent. No jokes, no laughter, nothing. Just that awful silence that makes everything 10 times worse. I tried to brush it off, I really did. I said, okay, good one. Someone's trolling me. But nobody claimed it, and the worst part, it didn't sound like any of their voices. It sounded layered, broken, like someone whispering through an old tape recorder. The menu screen flickered. Once, twice, and suddenly Jeff's face wasn't in the corner anymore. He was full screen, grinning, staring. Like he was waiting, I froze. My controller felt heavy in my hands, like even touching the start button would make things worse. But of course, curiosity is stronger than fear, right? My friend yelled, "Come on, just start the game already." So I did. The screen cut to black, and for a second, just a second, I could have sworn I heard breathing. Not from the game. From behind me, that's when I realized we weren't just about to play a horror game. We were about to step straight into Jeff's massacre. The game dropped us into what looked like a quiet suburban street. At first glance, it should have felt safe. Houses lined up neatly on both sides, white fences, driveways. But something about it was wrong. Everything was too still. No birds, no wind, just silence. I started walking forward, my character's footsteps echoing unnaturally loud against the pavement. Every house I passed was ruined, boarded-up windows, doors hanging crooked, mailboxes rusted and bent. Like the whole neighborhood had been abandoned overnight. And then that sound, a laugh, faint at first, almost playful, like a child giggling in the distance. But it didn't fade, it followed us, echoing, bouncing from wall to wall, like it was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. I remember saying, okay, this feels like the start of a horror movie, half joking, trying to break the tension. My friends chuckled nervously, but the moment we laughed, the laughter in the game stopped, dead silent. That's when the streetlights began to flicker, one after another in perfect sequence. Buzz, flicker. Black, buzz, flicker, black, until finally the last one above us sputtered and died. Now we were standing in total darkness. The only light came from my character's flashlight, a weak, shaky beam that barely cut through the black. I turned slowly, scanning the street. That's when my controller vibrated hard. My screen flashed red for a split second. Something moved, a shadow darted across the street, so fast it barely registered. I froze, gripping the controller like my life depended on it. My friends yelled, "Did you see that? Rewind, rewind." But no, there was no replay. The game wasn't going to give us proof. We just stood there in silence, staring into the dark. My flashlight wavered over cracked sidewalks, overgrown grass, shattered windows. Nothing, and then, just for a second, I saw him. At the very end of the street, almost swallowed by the darkness, was a figure. Pale skin, dark hair, his smile glowing unnaturally bright. Jeff. He didn't move, he didn't chase, he just stood there, watching. I whispered, like it would make a difference, don't move, like Jeff could actually hear me through the screen. But the worst part, the second I said it, the figure was gone, not walked away, not faded, gone, like he'd never been there. That's when the game objective appeared on the screen. Find a way out before he finds you. And trust me, our nightmare had only just started. We followed the objective, hearts pounding, and the path led us to the only house with a door slightly open. Just hanging there, swinging slowly, creaking like it was daring us to walk in, I pushed forward. The screen tilted as the camera moved inside, and immediately everything felt wrong. The air was heavy, dust particles floated in the flashlight's beam, thick and suffocating. The sound of our footsteps echoed too loudly against the cracked wooden floorboard. And then something upstairs shifted, a scrape, long, slow, dragging. We froze. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. What was that? My friend whispered into the mic, and I swear it felt like he was whispering in real life too. That's how real the silence was. The dragging sound continued, like furniture being pulled across the floor. Or worse, something being dragged across the floor. We pushed further into the house. The walls were stained, peeling. Old photographs hung crooked on the wall, faces scratched out. Every corner we turned, every door we opened, the flashlight revealed more chaos, broken chairs, shattered glass, overturned tables. And then we saw it, on the wall, scrawled in jagged, dripping red letters. Smile. We just stopped. My controller felt slippery in my hands, my palms sweating so much I thought I'd drop it. It wasn't just graffiti. The letters looked fresh, like they'd been written right before we entered. Okay, I said nervously, trying to sound calm. Cool, someone had a fun time redecorating, but no one laughed, not this time. The flashlight flickered, once, twice, and for a split second, there he was. Standing in the corner of the hallway, Jeff, pale skin, black hair hanging in his face, that unnatural, wide smile stretched across his face, teeth gleaming like they'd been carved there. And in his hand, the knife, we screamed, not a joke scream, a genuine, blood-chilling yell that almost made me drop the controller. I spun my character around, and he was gone, just gone. Did you see that? I shouted, but nobody answered. It was dead quiet except for one sound, footsteps, slow, heavy, coming from the ceiling above us, thump. Thump, thump. He wasn't done watching. He was moving, hunting, and the worst part, the game hadn't even started the chase yet. We knew, deep down, that the massacre was only moments away. You'd think that was already enough to break us. Seeing Jeff in the hallway, hearing him above us, watching, waiting, but oh no, that was just the prelude. Because then, the screen flickered, and a new objective appeared in jagged white text. Survive until dawn. That was the moment my stomach dropped. The house around us wasn't just a creepy set piece anymore. It was a cage, a hunting ground. At first it seemed calm. Too calm. I crept down the hallway, flashlight trembling as it caught on broken mirrors and torn curtains. My footsteps echoed like drumbeats, reminding me of how trapped we were. And then we saw him, Jeff. He was crouched in the distance, half, shrouded in shadows, head tilted at an unnatural angle, just staring. He didn't blink, didn't move, didn't breathe. He just watched. The timer appeared in the top corner of the screen, 12:00 a.m. 6 hours to survive. I whispered like it would make a difference, don't move. My friends laughed nervously, but no one dared to push the stick forward. Because even though he wasn't moving, it felt like if we twitched even a little, he'd pounce. Then it began. The clock ticked 1:00 a.m. Jeff twitched. He stood up slowly, his neck cracking as his head tilted back into that wide, horrifying smile. And then he took one step toward us, just one. My heart jumped. Okay, nope, nope, nope. I shouted, fumbling with the controls. The footsteps grew louder, steadier. By 2:00 a.m., he wasn't walking anymore. He was running, sprinting. His pale figure darted down the hallway, knife glinting in the flashlight's beam. The chase had begun. The screen blurred, static scratched across the speakers, and the whole house shook as though it was collapsing. We ran, crashing through rooms, slamming doors behind us, fumbling with keys and puzzles while Jeff's distorted laughter filled the air. At one point, I swear he whispered through the headset again, this time clearer, "I found you," we screamed. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the controller. My friends were yelling directions, left, no, right, hide, 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 but no matter where we went, Jeff was there. Crawling out of closets, sliding from under the bed, his smile glowing in the dark, and just when we thought we'd lost him, silence. No footsteps, no laughter, nothing. We crouched in game, hiding behind a broken dresser, hearts racing. I leaned into the mic, whispering, "Okay, maybe he's gaunt." And then his face slammed onto the screen. Full screen, eyes wide, smile stretched, knife raised. The massacre had truly begun. By the time the clock hit 3:00 a.m., the house was no longer just creepy, it was chaos. Walls bled static, doors slammed shut on their own, and every shadow stretched like it was alive. And Jeff. He wasn't just chasing anymore, he was playing with us. Every time we thought we had space, he would appear again. In the doorway, behind the couch, at the end of the hallway, always smiling, always closer than before. The massacre had begun. The first strike came fast. One of my teammates in the game took a wrong turn, sprinted into the kitchen, and bam! The screen cut to black, and all we heard was a bone-chilling scream. Then the kill animation. Jeff, knife raised, slashing down with that smile burned into the camera. We yelled in shock, shouting his name like we could bring him back, but the game wasn't forgiving. He was gone. Now, it was just three of us. We bolted up the stairs, the wood cracking under our feet, Jeff's footsteps pounding right behind us. The flashlight flickered like it was short, circuiting with every heartbeat. My character stumbled, nearly falling, and I swear, I actually yelled like it was me tripping in real life. "Don't stop, don't stop," my friend screamed. We ducked into a bedroom, slammed the door, pushed a dresser in front of it. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the controller. Silence fell, then scratch, scratchy, scratch. On the other side of the door, Jeff dragged his knife slowly across the wood, back and forth, teasing us. My heart was racing, my ears were ringing. We sat there, whispering, holding our breath, praying he'd go away. But of course he didn't. The dresser started to slide on its own, inch by inch. Something was pushing it from the other side. We scrambled, trying to hold it in place, but it was useless. The knife stabbed straight through the door, inches from my character's face. We screamed, the dresser toppled, the door burst open, and Jeff lunged. His scream distorted, demonic, blasted through the headset. My friend didn't even make it out of the room. One slash, game over. Now there were only two of us. We ran down the hall, through shattered windows, across the roof. The world outside warped like a nightmare, trees bending, the sky glitching red, whispers echoing with every step. We leapt off the roof, landed hard, and sprinted toward the street. The timer ticked 4:00 a.m., 2 hours left. But with Jeff behind us, 2 hours felt like an eternity, and that's when everything went horribly, horribly wrong. By the time the clock struck 4:30 a.m., the neighborhood wasn't even recognizable anymore. What was once rows of houses now looked twisted, stretched, like a nightmare version of reality. The street flickered between normal and something hellish blood, red skies, shadows crawling across the ground like spiders. And behind us, Jeff never stopped running. Every corner we turned, every alley we ducked into, he was there. His laughter echoed like it was inside our skulls, sometimes close, sometimes distant, but always there. Always smiling, we tried everything, hiding in garages, crawling under cars, even locking ourselves in a basement. But Jeff didn't just break down doors, he phased through walls. 1 second silence, the next second his face was inches from ours, knife raised. By 5:00 a.m. only I was left. My last teammate went down in a brutal ambush, Jeff leaping from a shadow, tackling him straight to the floor with a scream that cut the mic. Watching that kill animation alone was enough to make my skin crawl. Now it was just me. The timer ticked slower. Every second dragged like an eternity. The objective burned on the screen. Survive until dawn. I sprinted through the streets, flashlight beam bouncing wildly. My character stumbled, breathing ragged, and I could almost feel it in my chest, my heart hammering so fast it hurt. Jeff's footsteps grew louder, closer, closer. 5:30 a.m. I turned into an alley, and there he was, blocking the path. Knife gleaming, smile stretched ear to ear. My stomach dropped, I froze. He tilted his head, raised the knife, and then the screen glitched. The alley warped, stretching into endless black corridors. My controller vibrated like it was about to explode. I ran, no plan, no strategy, just pure survival. Every step echoed with his laughter. Every turn ended with his pale figure appearing just ahead. It was like the game was cheating, bending reality so Jeff could always win, and then, finally, the clock struck 6:00 a.m. The screen flashed white. For a second, I thought I'd made it. I thought I'd actually survived. But then his voice. Clear, cold, right in my headset. You can't escape me. Jeff's face filled the screen one last time, eyes wide, smile tearing across his face. Knife raised, and the screen cut to black. Game over. Silence. I sat there, staring at the screen, controller slipping out of my sweaty hands. My friends were speechless. Nobody laughed. Nobody said good game. We were just sitting in silence, all of us realizing we'd just been through something way too real for comfort. Finally, I broke the silence. Safe to say we're never opening that game at night again. And that, my friends, was Jeff the Killer, the Bloody Massacre. But if you think that was terrifying, wait until you see the next game we've got lined up. Trust me, you'll want to keep the lights on for that one.